like to call this May 1st, 2025 Board of Education work session to order. George, can you take the roll?
Mrs. Bissell?
Here.
Mrs. Kilbane?
Here.
Mr. Micko?
Here.
Ms. Stavcek?
Here.
Mrs. Hausum?
Here. All present. We could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on our agenda is strategic priorities. Our district has developed and is currently engaged in a 3-year strategic plan which reflects the values, beliefs, and hopes of our students, staff, parents, and community. There are 4 strategic priorities to the plan: transforming teaching and learning, aligning staff and resources, cultivating culture and climate, and leveraging funding and facilities. Our strategic priorities give actionable focus to our district's purpose and mission and guide the work of our strategic plan. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Ryba for our recognitions.
Thank you, Mrs. Hausum. We have some extra special recognitions tonight, so I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Kilbane and Ms. Stavcek to get us started.
Today we are acknowledging recipients from the preschool. Come on over.
Do you want me to bring them up now or as I
However
talk?
you want to. Want to talk about them first? Then
Yeah.
How about that?
Okay. Well, Miss Lynn can come up now because she's going to be the first one. All right. Good evening. My name is Sierra Vanderhoff. I'm the principal of the preschool, and I have the honor of being here this evening to recognize an outstanding teacher and student who truly exemplify the mission of Strongsville City Schools, and they embody what it means to be a model Mustang and go the extra mile. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay. So first I want to recognize Miss Lynn Wilson. She's worked in our district for 14 years as a dual licensed preschool teacher and intervention specialist. I am new to my position this year, but it did not take me long to see that Lynn is someone that I would classify as a lifelong learner. So although she is a veteran teacher, she is someone that is always looking for ways that she can improve her craft to best meet the needs of her students, and that is truly something that I attribute to a phenomenal educator. When you spend time in Miss Lynn's classroom, you can really see how much thought and intentional planning she puts into designing activities and learning experiences for her students. Being in preschool, there is such a balance between play-based learning and meeting the necessary standards and academic content for your students, and Lynn really seamlessly embeds that into her routines and activities. A read aloud and circle time in Miss Lynn's classroom is fun, engaging, and educational. I enjoy being there as an adult, so I know that that's just another testament to the educator that Lynn is. Miss Lynn emphasizes the importance of nurturing each student's potential, continually planting seeds of knowledge, curiosity, and skills that grow over time. She's also involved in bettering the lives of her students through participation in various committees, both inside and outside of our school. This includes our PBIS team, our building leadership team. She serves as our school's instructional coach, and she also participates in our district leadership team. She's always bringing back new ideas to her colleagues and helping others to implement new strategies. This just further shows how invested she is in not only her classroom, but the district as well. I could speak towards Miss Lynn's accomplishments all evening, but I will leave you with a quote that I think perfectly encompasses Lynn's work as a teacher. A teacher plants the seeds of knowledge, sprinkles them with love, and patiently nurtures their growth to produce tomorrow's dreams. So please join me in congratulating Lynn for her hard work and dedication. You are extraordinary. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those kind words. That was very thoughtful. It's been really a pleasure to have Sierra and get to kind of help her learn the preschool and kind of be that facilitator for her, and working for Strongsville and working in my building and working with students like Celia here makes it so easy and so fulfilling. So I really appreciate the acknowledgement, and thank you very much. All right.
I'm all just, he said stay this way.
Okay.
And we're lucky this evening because the student that I'm recognizing happens to be in Miss Lynn's class. So she's going to help me recognize Celia. If Celia can come on up. This is your shining moment here. So Celia here is a student at our preschool. She has an innate ability to make everyone smile. She is the student that greets everyone by name when she comes in first thing in the morning. She's bursting with energy and enthusiasm, and she exits the building in the same fashion. But what I would really like to highlight about Celia this evening is her inclusive and kind-hearted nature. I have been witness to Celia co-regulating with other students when they're having big emotions. She can often be seen reminding students of coping strategies, giving them a hug, or simply just being there for them. She is a great friend and a great role model. The traits I have seen of Celia already in her young self are those that I wish that I could spread amongst others, fostering a positive and inclusive society. Celia is the type of student that reminds us as adults that it's okay to ask questions, to dream big, and to connect deeply with others. I am certainly so proud of Celia, as I know Miss Lynn is as well, and I'll give her a chance here to say a few words, and I know that she's going to accomplish great things.
I would just agree with everything here that was already said. This makes my heart a million times fuller than receiving anything myself. So it's such a pleasure to get to work with her and see children like her just like blossom from when we get them when they're just teeny little 3-year-olds, and just take her and send her off to kindergarten. I'm so proud of her and what a just intelligent and caring and just responsible future citizen she is. So I couldn't be prouder. I'm so proud of you. Right? You want to say something?
You want to talk about what it means to be a good friend? Here, let's check right there. Check right there. This is microphone. Who's here with you today? Who's behind you? Who's with you?
Dad.
That's Dad? Did Dad teach you how to be a good friend and how to follow directions and be a good leader?
Yeah.
Yeah. When do you go to kindergarten?
In fall.
Kindergarten? No way. High five. Are you excited?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like being a friend?
Playing with my friends.
Very good. Say thing. Say thank you.
Thank you.
You want to go right over here and wave to the camera? Yeah. Go wave to the camera.
She's been telling everybody she's going to be on TV.
You can go on the kiss too if you want to. Well, you're the last to kiss. You want to shake everyone's hands? Shake all their hands. You're be on TV. They're just really proud of you. So, did we take a picture with your family? Oh, okay. Yeah. Great.
Oh, yeah, why don't you come in? Come on in.
You go here. Good.
She liked it. All right, well, thank you, Miss Lynn and Celia, for being here tonight. We really appreciate it, and congratulations again. Next on the agenda is public comment. I don't have any slips for public comment, so we will move on to approval of minutes. Motion to approve the minutes of the April 24th, 2025 regular board meeting. All audio recordings will be a permanent part of the minutes and are available upon request through the treasurer's office. Video recordings shall be maintained based on the availability of the selected digital online platform. With that, I will turn it over to George for treasurer's report.
Thank you, Mrs. Hausum. I have one item for discussion tonight, and it is looking at discussing the preschool tuition, the tuition amount as the last time we've looked at it was 12 years ago. So during our recent efficiency discussions in the district, when we were looking at different things, we realized that the tuition rates were significantly below market value. Currently, their current structure is it's $140 a month, which is paid over 9 months. Annualized, that's $1,260. And as I said, last time it was reviewed was about 12 years ago in the 2013-14 timeframe. And that's when it was reviewed. At that time, the board at that time said to make no changes, to leave it alone. I don't know when the $140 went into place, but it was sometime before that 12 years. So we just thought it was a good time to re-examine it. Just looking at comparables, we're on the top row is us at $140 a month. We're 4 days a week for 2.5 hours. There's an AM and PM session. Looking at neighboring school districts, North Royalton is $250 a month for the same time frame. Berea is $225 a month for 4 days and 3 hours. Brecksville Broadview Heights, they're an annual amount. It's $1,800 annually plus $50 school fee. So putting it in the same structure as us over 9 months comes out to $205 a month at 4 days, 2.5 hours. Brunswick City Schools, they're currently at $160 a month, but next year they're going to be at $175 a month. And they're 4 days at 2 hours and 45 minutes. And Medina City Schools, they're like Brecksville, an annual amount of $1,380, and breaking it down over 9 months, it's $153. The next set of groups are local preschools within the city. We were able to obtain 3 different tuition prices. For the private preschools, it was a little harder to obtain tuition prices as they're not posted on their websites, and in order to obtain them, you have to call in for a consultation. So the ones we were able to give, I just have them labeled as A, B, and C. The first one, it's local preschool A, it's $340 a month, and that's 4 days, 3 hours. Then the next 2, they have different rates for a 3-year-old class and a 4-year-old class, which also have different time frames. The 3-year-old class for this particular one is $140 a month at 2 days and 2 hours. And then their 4-year-old class is $210 at 3 days and 2 hours. And then the local preschool C gets an annualized tuition figure, but breaking it down over 9 months. For the 3-year-old class, it's $194 a month for 2 half days. And then the 4-year-old class is $233 for 3 half days. So as you can see, we're significantly below the comparables. My recommendation was, as we were looking at these, is to calculate it similar to how we calculate the full-day kindergarten tuition. So using that model, we'll start with the total personnel costs. For kindergarten, we're just looking at teachers, but for preschool, looking at both teachers and aides, as those are required as part of the classroom. We have to have a 1 to 6 adult to student ratio. So for every 6 students, 1 adult. So our class sizes are 16 students, 8 of which are special needs students and 8 are the peer students. So we would have 1 teacher and 2 aides per classroom, so 3 adults per classroom. Looking at the total personnel cost, we would apply a 50% reduction as half the class is peer students, which is tuition paying. And then we would apply another 50% reduction as it's a half-day program. There's an AM and PM session. Once we have that figure, we would divide it by the maximum capacity, which we have 7 classrooms at 16 students equals 112 students total, and then double it for the AM PM session. So 112 AM, 112 PM, so 224 students at max. Divide that by the figure, and it comes out to an annual tuition amount of $1,644. Divide that over 9 months, it comes out to about $182.69, so rounded to an even number of $185 per month. So using that 185 and still looking at the comparables, we're still on the lower end in comparison to within the city and also to our neighboring districts. And just the assessment of the impact. So if we would go with this amount, the monthly increase would be $45 a month per student. The annual increase would be $405, which is about a 32% increase in the rate. Our current revenue for preschool tuition is about $130,000. The additional monthly revenue would be about $5,040, annualized $45,000. So the total projected revenue is $175,000. If we would go with it, the implementation plan would be to do the same calculation annually, similar as we do kindergarten tuition, and then have it on the board approval in the second board meeting in May, similar to what we do with kindergarten tuition. And then, as I mentioned, our market position, we would still remain competitive and offer a strong value in comparison to our peers. So if there's any questions, I'll take them. If there's any discussion amongst the board.
Does anyone have any questions or comments?
As far as the comparables with the other school districts, do they all have similar calendars?
I believe so. Sarah, do you know?
Yeah, so most of the districts, so all of the public. Yes, so all of the public school district preschools run on the same type of calendar. So they're just going by that school year calendar, not the yearly calendar. So like the 4 days a week, 2.5 hours. Some of the local preschools that we got some cost for as well are also following that same school calendar. So some of those higher tuition costs that you were seeing, kind of same model, were also running on that same school calendar as us.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't a discrepancy in the comparisons. And then I don't have any concerns with the recommendation. I would just suggest as a board, I think the rationale for computing it makes sense, and we should do that annually along with the half-day kindergarten calculation. Shame on us for not doing it before, and then generating this large, we're still market, we're still competitive, we're still reasonable, but $45 a month is $45 a month, whereas following an annual procedure that has a reason for calculating, I think resonates more.
Yeah, I agree. I like the idea of mainstreaming it in preschool and kindergarten being the same. And when George and I talked, preschool signups have already started. So you said their sign-up fee will be the same as it is this year, and then it will adjust their cost in the fall when preschool starts?
Yeah, the sign-ups were they this month or last month for next year?
We started our lottery in January, so we've actually been starting to enroll since January, and we already have a significant wait list. So we have people that are still trying to get in, so.
Yeah, so at that time, there was the deposit that was due, and the deposit is the first month's tuition payment. So what we said was, because it's so early before we have the tuition amount, even moving forward, if we were to follow this model, is that first payment would be whatever that monthly rate is for that year during the deposit, during the signups, and when the deposit's due, we'll adjust it, and then in the fall, the new rate would kick in, and we would just have that caveat when they're signing up that rates are subject to change based on calculation.
So is the plan then to implement this for next year?
Correct.
Do you anticipate any challenges with that because you already have signups and people already had an expectation?
I don't believe so. As Sierra said, we.
I don't anticipate any challenges. We have already kind of been communicating with families that this is the tuition currently at this moment, could potentially be subject to change. Most families are very interested in getting into our preschool, which I think is a testament to the programming that we offer. So hopefully they'll see the value in, being comparable to others within the school community. But I don't anticipate really any challenges.
Thank you.
When George and I were talking about it, it would just be the 3-year-olds that would really kind of feel the impact because they'd be going from 3s to 4s. 3s coming in, it'll just, the way it is, yeah.
When will we do that, though? When will we let them know? And
So
the
at the
price?
next board meeting, I'll have it on the agenda.
Oh, and we vote for it.
Yeah, and once the board approves it, then we'll begin the communication process.
Okay.
And since everybody watches our board meetings anyways, they already know. Out of curiosity, and it's a good point that I don't think we discussed. We currently turn people away. You mentioned the
Correct.
lottery. Do you have a feel for how many people currently apply and how many we actually accept? Ballparks?
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head. I want to say we have at least 20 plus families on the wait list, and it doesn't move very much. So we typically have to turn people away and encourage them to start looking into other programs so that they don't lose a spot somewhere, anywhere. So I would say, like I said, 20 plus families, at least, if not more, are already on that wait list, hoping to get the call that they have a spot.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? So like Rich said, we'll all think about it, bring it back in 2 weeks, and we
Okay.
can vote on it.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Sierra. And that concludes my report.
All right, thanks, George. Dr. Ibert, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. And so at this time, I'm going to ask a group of our team members to come on up and join us with the board. And as they're coming up, and George has the slide up here, we thought it was a good time to, A, give an opportunity for our instructional administrative district leaders to come and share with the board some of the celebrations and the highlights of the work that they've done, a little bit outside of, maybe has some touching points with our strategic plan, but as well as just things that they've been working on to enhance the student experience and the work we're doing as a district. The other thing that we wanted to do, as you know, based on the board's approval, you gave me the ability to do some realignment last year and really focus on how can we take the complexity of what we do instructionally as a district and organize and put people in great positions to continue to do the great work that they're doing. And look at the alignment of that across the organization. So it's also an opportunity to share, here's some of the things where we've benefited from it, and here's some still of learning and growing we're doing as we all get used to the new structure. So with that, going on to the next slide, everything obviously is anchored in our strategic plan, as the board very well knows. This is year 2 of our strategic plan. And this outlines and gives guidance to all of our district, but especially our instructional team, as they take a look at aligning staff and resources. And a lot of that has to do with the materials and the professional development that we provide and how we support with coaching. Transforming teaching and learning is a big part of what we're going to talk about here in a little bit, as well as that culture and climate, which touches on a lot of our employee and adult components as well as behavior supports and things of that nature. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jenny, who's going to get us started in terms of our discussion tonight.
Thank you. So, as Dr. Iba said, we're just really excited about this year and some of the progress that we've made. I think we've made a lot of progress and a lot of growth just within a year of working all together. So just as a reminder, I kind of blew it up here for you. Our goal for transforming teaching and learning is to, again, enhance the classroom experience for all students, implementing innovative instructional approaches, structures, and strategies to make sure that our learners are inspired and empowered to go on any path that they choose to do in the future. And so, as a reminder, we just had the State of the Schools in March. A lot of you had got to attend that. And you heard not only what the students were doing in their classroom, but you also heard about, as they spoke and as they were able to express the things that they were doing, a lot of our Model Mustang competencies hopefully came through in that. So it's just exciting how our teachers are applying these things in an innovative way and helping our students to not only learn the content that they need to learn, but also the skills to make them even better people. So again, we're going to showcase some of those pictures from the State of the Schools this evening and kind of walk you through. We decided to kind of stick with coherence. We felt was something that we've realized this year, a lot of collaboration. We still need some areas of clarity in the work that we're doing, and then we want to celebrate some of our accomplishments. So first we have coherence, and as Dr. Iba shared, obviously the strategic plan really drives our work. That is something that, is not only something we have on a sheet of paper, but something that we apply action steps to each and every day, and really prioritize it in all of the work that we do. And the one area that we really focused on this year was Tier 1 instruction. We narrowed it down a little bit, and we not only looked at academics, but we also looked at behavior. So what can we do for the majority of kids, all kids, each and every day to make sure that they have the best shot, both behaviorally and academically in our classrooms? And I think, overall, we've just been more in sync. We've been able to gather our thoughts already and really think about even next year and the plan that we have. I think that makes us it puts us ahead, I think, of where we were last year at this time. When we're thinking about into next year, we're already really prepared to share with our building principals where we're coming from as a district, and therefore they can create their own plans as well. And then just for me personally, having Mr. Kilbane in the position of human resources now, it's just given me more bandwidth to really kind of keep the big picture in mind and making sure that, as I meet with principals through their evaluation process, and I go to many building meetings and see what the work that they're doing, and then meeting with all of the directors as well and seeing their individual goals and objectives and work. I'm able to tie things together. I'm able to see where we already have really great growth, where we can make connections, and then still where do we have gaps and what do we need to address. So I think it's been really helpful in ensuring more coherence in the district. I'm going to turn over to Nicole.
To give you an example of one of the places where the coherence really shines is the collaboration and the focus on particular strategies. So I'd like to highlight for you what the middle school is doing. They decided, the administrative team there is working on the evidence-based practice of having teachers look at data and use data to reflect on their practices and change their instructional strategies. And we used a combination of things in order to move that forward. And it's a matter of using our people, but also using the time, using in our meetings, and everyone focusing in one area in one direction. So, for example, with the TBT, our teacher-based teams, their data discussions, that was the focus of the admin team at the middle school. We started off by having training first semester for the administrators, like a refresher training on how to have good data discussions using a specific protocol. That was taught to the teachers as well. So we had everyone up to speed on good discussions. Then from there, we supported the team, our central office leadership team. We supported the team, the administrative team, with their work through their coaching and through their secondary curriculum meetings. We checked in with them on what they were doing with the TBTs. They made a point to have discussions at regular intervals about data with their teams, supporting them with the new protocol. And we found over just a few months, the teams are getting much better with their discussions. And the administrative team is reflecting on that progress and making plans for the future. So everyone working together on one specific evidence-based practice is really being fruitful and is moving us forward.
And that leads us into collaboration. So the first bullet is empowering our leaders. And this is something that I think we've done a beautiful job of this year with our administration. All of our principals are integral members of the strategic plan. So they have an ownership piece in it, they're invested in it. And what that allows them to do is take that to their buildings and implement in their buildings what they feel aligns to the plan, but also will drive their building forward. So the quality of our principals, our leadership, is such that we empower them, we trust them. They develop a plan for us, and we coach them, and we're ensuring that they're moving together in the same direction. But that's something newer this year, that they have that autonomy to really focus on what specific needs their building has. Additionally, talking about engaging teachers, we have I'll speak to the elementary, we have instructional teams this year at the elementary buildings. And this is something that came from the principals. They had an idea of, why don't we have every staff member on a team in our building? And these teams have really been able to help drive the work of the building. So there's an ELA team and a math team and PBIS, et cetera. So they can work in partnership with the principal, but we're starting to see that these teams have taken ownership. So for example, at Sarar, because I was just there, the ELA team, they came up with the One School, One Book, that they wanted to do that, and that ELA took that theme and they ran with it. So it gives the principals some assistance, having their teacher leaders work in the building. Sometimes that is more fruitful when it's your colleagues that are leading initiatives than, coming from top down. Also, teachers are engaged in the work. Something we did this year that came from principals' ideas is in February we did a professional development at the elementary where the instructional coaches all led a session. So we said, what do you want to teach about? You all have expertise in different areas. So every instructional coach led sessions, and our teachers, the whole staff, they went around to 2 different sessions. And the feedback we got from that was just incredible. We love the choice. We love learning from our peers. We want to do this all the time. So that was something we learned. We're not going to do it all the time, but it's something that is definitely empowering to our staff. And I'll turn it to Andy to continue with that thought.
I'd like to highlight the middle school. I've been working there with PBIS and restorative practices and trauma-informed. I'm really proud of the growth that they've made there and aligning their efforts for Tier 1 supports of all kids. And so primarily, I'd like to tell kind of a story of what some of the teachers have done there. There's a group of teachers who have been meeting weekly for at least 8 weeks leading up to Professional Development Day with myself, with Carrie Jankar from Family First Solutions, where we're learning about restorative practices, and then that kind of transitioned into let's plan and deliver professional development to our colleagues in the building. There's a great awareness that's growing at the middle school amongst the teachers to say some of our traditional approaches aren't getting the results we've wanted them to get. And they are saying we need to try something else. And restorative practices has been that vehicle. They're seeing quick turnaround and benefit from it, which is motivating them to keep moving forward. Also with the PBIS team there, it's in the best place it's been ever. And it's, again, because of teacher leadership. And so the amazing growth we're seeing at the middle school in the area of student behavior, positive classroom climate, is all because of the teacher engagement, empowerment, and leadership. We're getting so much more out of it with them being invested in kind of leading the charge.
All right, so I'm going to go next on to clarity. As with any change, sometimes it doesn't run smoothly the first time out. Thinking about what we've had in our department here for academic cult, the members you see here, it used to be 1 member or less, but the one extra member we have really encompasses what was 1 1/4 job is now 3 jobs. So each individual person is allowed to have that much more focus on their own world of, secondary, elementary, the professional development, and getting everybody on the same alignment with here at the table. So one thing that we've always had to explore is those little bullet points that comes after our names. And so clarifying those roles and responsibilities as we've gone throughout the year has been an important thing. And we've noticed that there's a lot of overlap at times. But what's great about the overlap is that it provides us more voices when we go to do those specific tasks. So that way we always make sure that we're covering all the bases. We have everybody's best interest in mind when we go to take through those actions. And lastly here I want to talk about is that just because there's overlap, I guess I already said that, but just because there's overlap doesn't mean that it allows us to make sure that nothing's missed. And that's something that before it was very easy for us to do when we were kind of in our own little silos. But now that we're all working together, it really helps out that makes sure that every area and every aspect is being taken care of.
Thanks, Dave. So one of the things, another area of clarity that I think we're still trying to realize is, I think we said it at a different meeting, but our strategic plan has a lot of things in it. There's a lot of things to do, and sometimes we all feel that the work is important, and we all want to get faster. We want to go faster, and we want to get there. But I think we also need to prioritize what we need to do, now. Versus what maybe nothing really can wait, but some things do need to wait because we can't do everything at once. And there's always that balance of competing priorities when things come up, maybe that we didn't realize weren't in the spot that we thought they were. And so, for example, as we look at some of our teacher-based teams throughout the district, and Nicole mentioned data conversations, and Andy mentioned restorative practices, and, even through the leadership teams, we're just noticing that maybe there's some refinement in how we have data conversations or how we look at instructional strategies, and realizing that maybe there's more time that teachers need to actually reflect on the work that they do, to revise it, refine it, and try it again, instead of just trying it once and thinking, oh, it's good, I guess, and moving on to the next thing. Really getting good at something and really understanding it well, I think will carry us much further and have things actually stick and be something that they do because they find it meaningful and because it's part of their routine and part of their habit and they know it's the best thing for kids. So I think that's been a little bit challenging to balance both, and so we're always looking at that, and sometimes we've had some difficult conversations. This needs to happen first, and then we'll do this. But I think working together has helped that process, and hopefully we can continue to make the progress we've made in the strategic plan going into next year. I would say one more thing is, again, the accountability piece and ensuring fidelity of implementation. That's always, again, a piece where, in education, and I kind of believe this in a lot of things, people aren't going to do something just because you tell them to do it. I mean, sometimes they do, right, if there's some motivation there. But will it stick? Will they continue to do it? And so, our work is making sure that we, hold each other accountable and making sure that we are doing that in a way that if there is something that's not happening, how can we actually support? What else do we need to do? What is the reason why somebody is not wanting to implement a program the right way or, follow through on a strategy? And usually it's because they're nervous about it, they're vulnerable, it's a new thing, they need more support, they need more coaching. And once we provide those things, typically, things do move along. So again, it's kind of just pausing and making sure that everybody's coming with us, and so we don't have these gaps and pockets. And, again, one of our goals is to make sure that students have an equitable education with us, no matter what teacher they have, what classroom they're in, that they're getting a similar experience and one that follows our vision and our mission and what we want for all kids. So again, we're constantly looking at that. And I think, we've provided our principals a lot of resources to help them, do that and then kind of report back to us, and we support them in that way. So we want to move on to some celebrations. And one thing that I want to celebrate is, I've been here a long time. And I remember being a principal and, I had a new assistant principal. I think it was my first year as principal. And I remember sitting down in a room and going, well, what do you want to do this year? What should we focus on? and we're like, well, maybe some differentiation. I don't know. What do you want to do? And there was no strategic plan. There was nothing, each building, I remember calling Andy saying, what are you doing, this year, and trying to collaborate. And it was just very challenging. You were kind of on an island. And, I think this is probably one of the best years where our administrators are working together. And what I also think is we've gone deeper in the conversations that we're having. It's not solely like, what are you doing for open house, or what are you doing for conference day, and those task kind of conversations. It's much more about implementing a strategy such as building thinking classrooms. And we're having deeper conversations about, okay, well, in my building it looks like this. Are you getting the impact that that you want from it? Or maybe we need to reiterate these things for our teachers to make sure that they're doing it correctly. So we're really diving in and having, collegial, professional dialogue around the things that we really want to do. So, I'm just super proud of all of our leaders here and our building principals, because we've all worked together. And again, I think it's not only moving together, but really thinking outside the box and thinking of new things and tackling, problems maybe that have been longstanding that we need to address, and thinking creatively about solutions. So really excited about that. Andy, did you have anything?
I would just continue to talk about the great work at the middle school, but it's not just the middle school. They are really been a highlight for me, but also going into the high school too. They're also building a restorative practices framework that they're jumping into next year, taking a lot of time to methodically plan for that. So that they can implement that successfully. And at the elementary level, looking carefully about how do we take restorative practices to the elementary level. And also, I can't say enough about those success teams either. Those have been instrumental at the elementary level to kind of integrate PBIS, restorative practices, and trauma-informed care, with our school counselors stepping up and providing a lot of that education to our teachers. They've done a great job.
Nicole? I was just going down the road, but if you want to.
Some things I'd like to highlight with what we're doing with Tier 1 instruction and moving things forward. I feel like I talk about textbooks a lot. The implementation of our high-quality instructional materials at the middle school, elementary school, in literacy and other areas. And we're excited next year about the high school. We even have professional development next week for our teachers so they can get started early for next year in the implementation. So that's something we're celebrating for sure. Our use of different groups. I talked before about what our administrative team is doing to support our TBTs, but we also have our district learning team. We have our instructional coaches, both at the district level and at the building level, who make sure that professional development isn't just a lightning strike where it's just this one day where we learn something. They help support our teachers as they continue to develop their skill in the classroom. So that is definitely something I think is worth celebrating and is moving us forward. When we talk about professional development, really proud, the high school is in their second year of doing something very innovative, where their teachers are doing self-selected some PD, where they meet in groups and they study things of interest to them and of their practice. This is their second year doing this. And you think about it, if we want students to be able to drive their own learning, having teachers drive their learning first is a great step towards making that more universal. So again, something I think is really worth celebrating and is really innovative.
Nicole mentioned our instructional coaches, both district and, in our buildings. And I think, I know from the work that I've done over the last couple of years, they've taken it so much farther in just 1 year. With them working to not only to introduce new programs like Magic School AI, to reintroduce programs like when we get new features, like when Screencastify now has this submit feature to replace a program that they used to enjoy, like Flip, but also to refine or to bring back and refresh some of their memories of other programs like Pear Deck. So they're able to be in the buildings, be in these meetings, and really help our teachers utilize all the resources that we provide them. And ones that really are, ones that are important to them at that time. Because it's really easy to give PD for Magic School for everybody in August, But if a teacher doesn't come back and use it until, I don't know, March, that PD didn't help well that much then. And that's where our instructional coaches are kind of stepping in now and helping out, getting teachers to jump in when they're available and when they're ready.
Anything else?
Well, I wasn't going to speak, but I feel that I should. I talk about CKLA, the ELA curriculum that's being fully implemented next year. I'm probably tired of hearing about it, but it's such an exciting time in the district. So the plan's been in place for over a year now. It was a very strategic plan of how we were going to roll this out, having our early adopters. The really inspiring part is what I saw in March. So we trained all of our teachers, 6 hours. They sat with different reps from the company, and they learned a great deal about the program and what it's going to look like in the fall and what it's going to take to make this work. And the attitudes were outstanding. They were very, it's hard to change. And everybody was super supportive. My favorite part is that between now and the end of the school year, every teacher's committed to doing something with CKLA. So we've offered them some choice, what that looks like, whether they're teaching some of the lessons or they're going and watching an early adopter teach some of the lessons, whole host of activities. But there's excitement brewing. Teachers are going to work in the summer together with their TBTs, their grade level TBTs. And I'm very excited for the fall. And you know what? It's not going to be perfect, but we're going to start the process, and it's going to make that tier 1 experience consistent across the buildings and across the grade levels.
And just to kind of summarize, one other thing that I just want to share is we send a lot of teachers to professional development, like Aaron said, whether it's in-house or outside of the district. And time after time, they come back really excited. They've learned some things and they want to implement. But even more so, they say how we're ahead of everybody else. And the things that we're doing are so much further ahead, and people are now reaching out to us and asking us what we're doing. And I just think that's really exciting, not only for us as the people that are influencing the work, but for our students, because they're the true beneficiaries of the work that we do. So really can kind of just see, it's really interesting, it's really cool, I guess, to just see the transformation in how our classrooms are now, even compared to a few years ago. So really exciting. So I'll open it up for any questions that you have for us or any discussion that you want to have.
I was just going to say.
Of course I have a question. Singular at the moment. Nicole, I want to go right back to one of the first things that you shared about the data-based groups and reflection that's happening there. And I know sometimes as they're learning something new or trying something new, it takes a while to reach the students. So would you say that we're at a point at the middle school where they're reflecting, they're making adjustments, and the students are reaping the benefits, or are we still in the earlier stages of that?
I think it really depends on which teacher-based team you're talking about, because I think when I think of some of our teams, some of our tested subjects, they delve a little bit deeper in data just over as a matter of course, because it's a very focused approach. When you think of like I think of Science 8, they love data. They're a state tested. So yeah, I'm sorry, I should have been clear.
I didn't want to cut you
Yeah.
off, but I'm like, I lost.
What test? Don't they give tests in all of them? Right,
Yes.
yeah. No, so our state tested ones, I think because of the nature of the course and because that being a final test that they have to take, they maybe are steeped a little bit more in using data, and it's reaching the benefits of the discussion is reaching the students quicker. Other teams are on their way. We're seeing the growth over time, just over a couple of months, which is great to see. And I think it's because there's a concerted effort and there's a focus. And as Jenny said, the idea of focusing on one thing and doing it well rather than shifting focus has really, really benefited the team so far.
Thank you.
Hmm?
So piggybacking off of her, we've had really good conversation, but it's all about the adults. Help me understand, we say that we're doing these teacher-based teams, we say we're doing all of this stuff, and it's transforming our education. How is it transforming our education? If I'm a parent, and my experience is my own education, and what the kids tell me when they come home. So what should I see as a parent different?
Well, I guess I'm going to turn it over to the team, but what I would share is, let's make that connection, because everything that they've talked about is about transforming what the student experience is. So I'm going to ask Andy to start off and share. You know, I think Michelle's question leads up to, where are we at in the process? Is it adult learning and growth and understanding? Is it implementation? And then when are the students impacting it? So I think all of this stuff is at different levels, and almost, as we said, building specific, team specific. So talk a little bit about restorative practices and what a student could experience and currently is experiencing based on what's going on in the district.
Absolutely. So one of the great things about restorative practices, it's a pretty efficient and easy way to start social emotional learning strategies for teachers in the classroom. And that started a lot of times with circles. It takes about 3 minutes before a class, and you get around and you ask a prompted question, and everybody goes around and they provide a response. Just that kind of icebreaker every day, it provides an opportunity for students to get to know each other and to get to know the teacher. So that's something that's already happening at the middle school and around the district, just kind of scratching the surface there. The other thing I would add at the middle school too is we had a steering committee meeting today where we kind of planned for the Tier 1 meeting that's next week and looked at the acknowledgement data. So the acknowledgement data is about, if you remember, teachers going up to students and saying, hey, I saw you do this, and that's phenomenal work that you're doing, or a great gesture that you made. Remember, it's not about giving them a thing. It's about building a relationship with a student, and actually whatever you're giving them is really the cue for the adult to say, hey, this is my cue. This is my opportunity to go and meet another kid, because they're really focused on the old saying that it takes one caring adult in a school to make a difference for a kid. And so already they've started the acknowledgement system maybe mid-year, and they're up to about 1,400 of those going out to kids. So we look at the data and say, how many teachers are giving how many out? What's their distribution looking like? What kids haven't gotten one yet? Is there an opportunity we're missing? So that those kind of discussions happen so that we are impacting the lives and the education of kids every day.
Nicole, I know last year you spent a lot of time at the middle school with textbook adoptions, a new ELA adoption, a new math adoption. So what have you learned this year that in terms of how that's impacted kids' experiences engaging in that content?
I think the change to new materials has made student experience more consistent as far as what kids are seeing from classroom to classroom, very much what Aaron said. So switching to new materials has done that. It's also introduced different strategies and places. We're using Desmos Math at the middle school, which kind of leans into the experience. It's called Experience First, Formalize Later strategy, where kids experience different math conundrums, if you will, right? And they have to solve them, and then the teacher comes in and explains, here's how the math works, and this is what you did, and this is now a structured way, a more direct instruction part of it. So that's a different way of looking at math, one that our previous materials didn't really allow for. So they wanted to do building thinking classrooms at the middle school. With the past textbook, it took a lot of twisting and changing the materials that were available to get that to work. The new materials lend themselves better to that strategy, which is more student-focused and less teacher in front of the classroom kind of focused. So it shifts the perspective there. The teachers are reporting that kids are more enthusiastic about math. They're more enthusiastic about what they're doing. In social studies, we added new books there, and we're seeing more reading in social studies as a way of kids getting information. Something that kids don't necessarily nowadays lean into as much as maybe we did when we were growing up as far as a way of finding information. They love videos, right? They're doing more of different things. So we want them to lean in more into the textbooks. We're seeing that more with the use of the new books because the structure is more attractive and more conducive to students approaching and accessing text.
Yeah. And I can keep going down the road if you'd like to hear
Well, I have
more.
one
Or I
more-
can
I have one
pause.
question.
I think the strict question is they're excited about math, are they better at it?
I would like to think so. I think our teachers are seeing good results. We're seeing decent growth over the course of the year. We'll see when we get our OSTs back how this new book compares to what we did in the past. That being said, we'll put an asterisk on that. Whenever we start something new, it takes a minute for people to get their footing. It takes a minute for people to hit their stride. The one thing I will say, and we know this, research will tell us that collective efficacy of groups, collective efficacy of teachers, them working together to build upon each other's strengths and use each other's strengths has one of the highest impacts on student learning. And so by centering on the same materials, centering on the same strategies, and unifying that more, we have the chance to build collective efficacy. So our younger teachers who aren't as experienced benefit from older teachers. Younger teachers who might have newer experiences, the older teachers benefit from what's new. So leaning into our teams is really a useful way to go about increasing learning for all of our kids. And so, yes, I'm hoping that it pays off in math. Enthusiasm, I would like to say that engagement is the first step, because if kids don't engage, they're probably not learning. So if we can get them engaged in math, I'm hopeful that that means they will improve in math.
I agree, but it's got to be more than hope.
I will show you data soon, in the fall, come fall, for sure.
Thank you.
You know, one of the things, and it's going to be our 60 seconds tomorrow, but Nicole and I and maybe some other people had a chance on Friday to go to the high school. So Mary Giamo was one of our English teachers, and it was a host of people that, were participating. And Mary's a part of the district learning team as well, and Jenny could talk. I won't let her talk because she'll talk for another half hour about deeper learning and the wonderful work that she's doing. But, you know, what they did is they were reading Lord of the Flies. And so what she worked with her class was creating an immersive experience and really recreating the island and the experience. And kids signed up to take on roles of that, and then they brought in other classes that were just starting to read the text to be a part of it and take part of different aspects. Then they broke into groups to take a look at what were the social emotional mental health challenges that kids were facing in the book and look at how that related to their own experience. The auditorium was decorated, they had different stations, they had things in the hallway decorated, and this was all run and driven by our students. So I can't give you quantifiable data that they knew Lord of the Rings better than they would have if they sat in class to read it, but I go with what Nicole said, that the level of engagement and the depth of experience and putting out themselves to not only, do the part and become the character, but inviting other classmates and putting themselves out there to kind of do this experience. I would bet they've got a better depth of understanding of that text than they would have just doing a read aloud or reading it in the part. So I think I'm a data person, right? So I completely appreciate and understand, but that's the challenge we have dealing with human beings and people is some of the things are data-based, and we're going to get the test scores. And we can look at the test scores, and some of those kids that made the greatest growth are not going to hit that benchmark that says they passed. But we'll be able to see progress from year to year and track that to see if what we're doing is actually making a difference for kids. And I think earlier in the year, Aaron shared a lot of data that in early literacy we're making a lot of growth. So, that's a big part of it, to make sure where we're putting our money and where we're putting our efforts is making a difference. But I think if you put all of that, the qualitative, quantitative together, we're seeing growth.
I remember Lord of the Flies. Did we have a nurse handy?
It was all paper mache and.
Could be a Polaris collaboration. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for all the work you guys do, because I know it's not easy. So I know everybody here appreciates it. The one thing that I always consider is, will everything be the same on all the elementary schools? And I think all of us want that consistency that wasn't always there. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a good benchmark if we could just get to that point. And it sounds like that's where you're heading with, the programs that you guys are implementing. So I for one, I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I will say that just observing each of the elementary principals, I've never seen such alignment, and it's just, even with Emily being brand new at Sarar, she's right, I can't believe how much she's done this year. So congratulations to her, but it's just so exciting when you go to staff meetings and they're doing very similar things across, and teaching their teachers all about the same thing. Like Andy mentioned, restorative practices, they're all going into that. And so it's just exciting to see that alignment. And then because they're doing it, they're collaborating together on, you know, what did your teacher say about this? How can I do this better? And so it's just kind of that trickle down that I do think definitely
Seems more
impacts the
like a
students.
family than just
Absolutely.
like segregated,
Yep.
different
Totally.
buildings. Even at the PTA thing today, they were saying
Yeah.
how, you know, two principals would get together and do something. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a good feeling because then it's not that separated kind of, the more they do that, the more I think it aligns with what we all want.
Right.
As we wrap up, I just want to commend these 5 people around the table. I'm lucky to be friends with them. I'm lucky to work with them every day, and they've done a phenomenal, phenomenal job, and I couldn't be prouder. And so part of a lot of these folks around the table have had one way of doing things for the last 9 years. And all of a sudden, in 1 year, we've switched that up. And so there's some bumps in the road that we're continuing to work through. And but the ability, as we said, to be able to hyper-focus on an area or their responsibilities, to have the ability to have the bandwidth, as Jenny said, to do the great work that they're doing. For me personally, it's the trust that I have in them to do that, to say, hey, it allows me some opportunities to focus on other aspects of the district and them to use their expertise. And I know we wouldn't be in the place we are today if it wasn't for the 5 of them around the tables. They're making a difference for our kids, so thank you. Since you're sitting here, we have a couple other agenda items. If you want to hang out, or you don't have your tech with you, so I'll take them for you. So just hang out here for a second while we go through this. So moving back onto the agenda, under curriculum, we do have an item for your consideration. It's an annual approval for those students that potential graduates that are approved to participate in the Strongsville High School commencement ceremonies coming up in a few weeks on Thursday, May 22nd. And obviously, final approval is contingent of them meeting their successful requirements for graduation. We have 2 items under human resources. The first is consideration of a retirement to be rescinded. So we are thrilled to have Mrs. White continuing on with us as a math teacher next year. And then we do have a retirement of Jameen, who's been a long time rock star of a teacher with us, and she'll be celebrated here in a couple weeks at our May meeting. Under technology, we do have one item for Power School, that we enter into agreement with Power School to provide enrollment registration services from June 30th, 2025 to June 29th, 2026 in the amount of $22,245.30. Are there any questions on those items in my report? With that concludes my report.
Thank you.
You guys are good. Thank you.
And I just want to tell you guys, as a district, we are lucky to have you, the 5 of you, working with us. So we appreciate all the hard work you do. And when you sit there and you talk about all the different layers, you know, I'm like, how the 5 of them keep track of the district this size? We've got all the layers put in place. So I think we're going to be very, very successful. So thank you. Any other comments? Questions? Okay. All right, with that, we are at the adoption of consent calendar. Action by the Board of Education and adoption of consent calendar at this point of the agenda means that all items appearing in this agenda denoted as type action consent, which items constitute the consent calendar, are adopted by one single motion unless a member of the Board or Superintendent requests that such items be removed from the consent calendar and voted upon separately. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. Motion by Ms. Stavcik, second by Mrs. Kilbane. Do we have anything that needs removed? Hearing none. George, can you take the roll?
Ms. Stavcik?
Yes.
Mrs. Cobain?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next on the agenda is Board of Education Other. Do we have any other topics?
I do have one, and I am going to do this every board meeting until, sometime in July. As a reminder, we have a biennium budget that is being negotiated, legislated in Columbus currently. That biennium budget affects all of us as citizens and taxpayers, but it particularly affects Strongsville City School District. And so right now, as it stands, there's some negative effects financially for the school district. if the biennium budget would be passed as it stands today. So it is currently being discussed in the Senate. Senator Tom Patton is our representative. Strongsville is one of his cities in his district. His phone number is 614-466-8056. In the House, Representative Mike Davila is the representative for Strongsville. His phone number is 614-466-4895. I bring these out because both of those gentlemen are local. Both of those gentlemen answer their phone. Both of those gentlemen want to hear from their constituents. So today's topic is just kind of some interesting data, because some of us like database decisions. And I want to talk, so the biennium budget officially is House Bill 96. It is 5,048 pages long. I don't want to tell you what page I'm on, but nobody can actually read all of it and digest all of it. One of the things that is baked into House Bill 96 is what is known as setting up educational savings accounts. There currently is a bill in the Senate, Senate Bill 68, that has to do with setting up educational savings accounts. That one's 81 pages long. Now, it would be an interesting civics government discussion at the high school. Is there a strategy that politicians have that instead of discussing, debating, considering the effects of potential legislation, 81 pages on one topic, we're just going to bake all of these issues into one big biennium budget that's 5,048 pages. I'll let the high school make their determination. I'll let the taxpayer at home make their determination. But at the end of the day, all of these things have a consequence for Strongsville, not just for Strongsville City Schools, but ultimately for the taxpayer. And what I would suggest you do, besides the fact that you should call either Mr. Patton or Mr. Davila and tell them to advocate for what's in the best interest of Strongsville, but bring up the fact that, hey, why do we have a bill that's 81 pages that you could read, that citizens could read, that people could discuss, versus putting it into the 5,048 page biennium budget? And if anyone's doing the math, if you would subtract 81 pages from 5,048, I still won't be able to read it all. But it would go, I think, in the right direction. And, it's one of those good, what is good government? Right now, that biennium budget has everything and the kitchen sink in it. There are priorities, there are agendas, there are all kinds of things. But at the end of the day, our job is to advocate for what's in the best interest of Strongsville City Schools. And right now, I think we can improve on the biennium budget. So I ask everyone to share that sentiment with their senator and their House of Representatives. That concludes my other.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, executive session. We do have need for executive session for
To prepare for negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Stavcek, second by Mrs. Kilbane. Take the roll, George.
Ms. Stavcek?
Yes.
Ms. Cobain?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
Mrs. Bizzle?
Yes.
Motion carries. We will enter into executive session at approximately 8:15. We do not see need to resume in public session, so I want to wish everybody a good night.